I'm going to call the Design Adjustment Committee meeting to order. Before we get started, I have to read a brief introduction. The Design Adjustment Committee's purpose is to establish clear and measurable review criteria for the consideration of major deviation from the city's technical standards and specifications manual. The Design Adjustment Committee does not consider housing type, cost of the proposed unit, occupants, building material, unit size, number of bedrooms, or the architectural design of the structures. These hearings are quasi-judicial evidentiary hearings. That means it's like a court hearing, and the committee's decisions are constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based upon the facts presented. All variance requests require 4/5 vote of the committee to grant the variance. Appeals of committee decisions are to Superior Court. The parties in these cases are entitled to an impartial board. If a board member has a fixed opinion on the matter, a financial interest in the outcome, a close relationship with the affected person, or has had any ex parte communication about the matter, please disclose that information to determine if a recusal is necessary. City staff will introduce a proposed project to the committee, and committee members may ask questions. The applicant may present additional information about the project, and the members may ask questions. If anyone wishes to provide evidence at today's hearing, witnesses must sign in on the clipboard in the back of the room and be sworn in. Because witnesses are to provide sworn testimony, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. When a witness comes forward to give testimony, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and speak clearly. At this time, staff will administer the oath for all individuals who intend to provide witness testimony.
If I could have all staff, applicants, and members of the public who wish to speak this afternoon, please stand up and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Our first item of business is the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any corrections?
Chairman, I'll just make note of two corrections to you were referenced in that document. You were not present at the last meeting, so just replacing your name with my name as the...
The changes have been noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes with the noted corrections.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Brings us to our business. I believe we are going to have a continuance, so I am going to make a motion to move the second item, Aberley at Wilmington, to the number 1 to address that continuance first. We do have to vote on that.
I'll make a motion to approve or to adjust the agenda.
I'll second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So Aberley at Wilmington.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you doing today? I'm Richard Collier with McKimmon Creed, representing Aberley, as Aberley Landing is actually the name now. We are working with the adjacent properties on an access easement for the rear drive aisle, which is one of our items up on your agenda today. There's some heirs situation, so we felt it would be better to postpone or continue until next month to work that out prior to coming before the DAC.
Understood. Anyone have any questions? Mr. Collier, if not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue.
Okay. I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
To the April meeting. Agenda item number 1, Beyond Basics. Is there a staff presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. The site includes 0.374 acres and is located within an existing office and institutional conditional district, and the site is currently developed with a commercial parking lot. The proposed right-of-way improvement is associated with a conditional district rezoning request. The applicant proposes to rezone the site to a new ONICD for a commercial district mixed-use development consisting of 3 two-bedroom residential units and 2,000 square feet of personal service uses. The Planning Commission held a legislative hearing on March 6, 2024, and unanimously recommended approval. City Council will hold a legislative hearing on April 2nd, 2024. The site currently has direct frontage along Floral Parkway, an 80-foot wide public right-of-way, and along Garden Avenue, a 45-foot unimproved public right-of-way. The proposal includes the construction of a local street with a non-standard cross-section, which will provide access to 3704 Garden Avenue. The Technical Standards and Specifications Manual specifies minimum standards for a local street. All proposed streets shall have 5-foot wide sidewalks on both sides of the street, and the applicant proposes no sidewalks on either side of the street, and a waiver is required. The applicant has provided justification for the request on attachment 3 of your package. If the committee elects to approve the proposed adjustment, staff recommends the conditions on page 4 of your packet be applied. That is all from staff. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Miranda, I got one question, and it might be just my own knowledge, but it says the proposed to rezone the site to a new ONICD. So is this a new zoning that's being created for this site, or is it just another?
Sure. The site is currently office and institutional conditional district for the parking lot that is there currently. In order for them to modify to anything other than the commercial parking lot that's there, they have to go back to Planning Commission and City Council for a new conditional district.
Okay.
Any other questions for Miranda? No?
Thanks.
The applicant?
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name's Cindy Wolf, and I'm here on behalf of Kendall Fuqua, who owns the L-shaped tract in total of what we're proposing some development of. Of course, the subject today is Garden Avenue. You can see that it is a dead-end right-of-way. It stubs into 2 apartment complexes, Haddon Hall Apartments, which are actually on front, technically, on Caswell Street, and then Park Place condominiums that access and front on Park Avenue. Before I do, it's a little hard to see, obviously, in an aerial, but there is certainly a sidewalk in front of the existing buildings on the Beyond Basics Salon, and there is a sidewalk that extends from Haddon Hall Apartments out to Floral Parkway through Haddon Hall Apartments open space. That's a vacant lot that fronts on Floral. Of course, this is a public right-of-way, although it is labeled as unimproved as far as the city goes. It's 45 foot of right-of-way. So this is what it looks like now. There is some, I guess, gravel or something that extends on back there, but there are no other improvements. There is a public sideway stub to the right-of-way in front of the Haddon Hall open space, the vacant lot, and my client had stubbed the public right-of-way in front of their parcel all the way back in 2004 when they developed it. You can see on the right that the Haddon Hall Apartments sidewalk goes all the way back to their apartment facility. So what we're trying to accomplish, as Miranda pointed out, is to subdivide his lot. The back section just has parking on it right now, but to in fact use it more wisely and put another building back there. In doing so, you know, your basic issues of financing, of all kinds of things come into play, so it works well for him to separate it into its own lot. So we needed frontage on the lot. We have that frontage on Garden Avenue, but Garden Avenue being unimproved caused some problems. So what we're proposing is to improve Garden Avenue. In speaking with the engineering section, as far as its cross-section, it would basically be a residential, I believe 16 foot of asphalt, 2 foot valley gutters either side, certainly the street trees, any street lights. But what we're trying to waive is the requirement for sidewalks. And the reason for that being that all that is accessing this driveway is the new parcel. The folks from Haddon Hall have a sidewalk out to the public sidewalk on Floral Parkway. The Park Avenue condominiums is fenced, so it has no access through this site or over to Garden Avenue anyway. They access the streets to Park Avenue. In doing so, we'd certainly connect with handicap ramps, those stubs to the right-of-way over to the actual roadway, so it was a consistent travel pattern. And for the track that we're trying to create, we would have the owner record an easement that would be public-private so that, and add sidewalk at the front of the building where it is currently not connected to the public walk on Floral Parkway. And based upon that, our justification for the technical standards deviation is that Garden Avenue is dead end. Both of those condominiums access other roadways. The alternative pedestrian access would be available to anyone coming and going, so we feel that the sidewalk within the right-of-way would just be redundant. The request continues to meet the code, providing sidewalks from uses out to the public street. It conforms with adopted comprehensive plans based upon the zoning that we're proposing, infill development of underutilized land. The request doesn't increase any congestion or compromise safety because traffic will pretty much be limited to ingress, egress by those 3 apartments and the commercial users of that back parcel. The road improvement does still meet emergency standards because we will provide that turnaround to the technical standards requirements and an easement interior to our lot as necessary to make that an emergency, what do they call it, a hammerhead turnaround. And that the request does not create any lots without direct street frontage, but pedestrian access is still provided for. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Cindy, I have one question. There were 2, or actually 3 variances noted on the, I guess it was the
Originally, yes.
original, but that has been adjusted to just the sidewalk. So we're assuming it otherwise meets the minor street standard.
That's my understanding. The pre-TRC engineering comments came back to Miranda and they said the road cross-section, which I was concerned would have to be a commercial cross-section, can be residential, is what I was told. And the other one, I apologize, I don't have it. You have it in front of you. The one was the width of it and the fact probably that it was not a 60-foot right-of-way, it's a 45 as existing. Those were the other 2.
Okay. But A and B on your list go away if we assume that this is a minor street.
Yes.
So we're just down to the sidewalk. We have a standard asphalt width, a standard right-of-way width. Okay. And I think you clarified this with your exhibit, but the sidewalk that's through the Haddon Hall parcel, that is a private sidewalk connection to Floral?
That's correct.
That is not in the right-of-way?
It is not in the right-of-way, and it is private. They have signs, but it does allow anybody that is going in this direction from Haddon Hall to get to the Floral Parkway public sidewalks.
Okay.
Here you can sort of see it there.
On that note, leaving that picture up, is the vegetation that's on the left or the right of the, I guess, the existing gravel, is that within the right-of-way? Would any of that be disturbed?
Everything on the left was technically a street yard for the salon facility. I would imagine he would like to redo it, if you will, but there would be street trees required along that side for sure within the right-of-way. Everything on the right, it's hard to say. It probably encroaches into the right-of-way, but if you look at the aerial photograph, you can sort of see there's probably, 8-10 feet between the edge of the sidewalk and the road. So, they're big bushes, but they would be where a sidewalk would go were we required to put one in. Is that sort of what you're going at?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out
If there's no sidewalk, I don't see any reason why those bushes would need to go anywhere. They could remain.
Okay. questions for Cindy?
I guess one question, that little strip that splits Haddon Hall on your site plan, it's shown as an unimproved right-of-way, 10
Yep.
foot. Do you have any information on the intent for that? It's just city right-of-way? Okay,
I mean, why it was there, I'm sure it's on one of the original plats. But it just, on the GIS, but you can see everything around it. They own the back parcel and the front parcel. Someone else owns the parcel to the northeast of that. But there's no improvement of that whatsoever.
Any other questions?
so you mentioned so it's an existing parking lot, as shown here. You're wanting to subdivide it to create a residential use?
That building would have 2 commercial uses on the ground floor.
Okay.
2 apartments on the second, and 1, nicer apartment on the very top.
Gotcha.
It would be commercial district mixed use.
Okay, so we're not talking about both sites aren't your mixed-use component, it's that single
No, the other
site.
site would just stay
Okay,
as it is,
gotcha.
a
Okay.
commercial salon.
Okay.
Don't mean to step on CFPWA's toes here, but how are utilities being served? I see a water line, but where's sewer?
Yeah, we're proposing water because obviously for fire services, we're beyond the 150 feet if you go up the driveway. So the proposal would be to bring water from Floral as far back to a fire hydrant and then as far back to the 2, probably tie it down to 2-inch for the service there. There is sewer in Cherry Avenue at the very back. My client believes he can get a utility easement from the Deneen Animal Hospital to get a service over to that, since it's only a point-to-point intersection. If not, it could be extended from Floral, but certainly we'd prefer not to extend sewer up Garden.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll deal with that through the TRC process.
Cindy, are there any, you mentioned that there's a fence separating Park Place from the end of Garden. Are there any topographic features back there that would say in the future Park Place redevelops, or is there anything back there that would prohibit?
There is a ditch that, I wish we always had a way to show things. There is a ditch that runs from Cherry Avenue, which is at the bottom of this scene, sort of around the corner of our property, and then on our side of the property over to Garden Avenue. We've reviewed it, and there's really nothing draining to it, but it remains a physical depression. The fence is then to the west of it. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, because then it swings back around, and where the stub is for our turnaround is about where either we're going to have to repipe under it, because there is a major drainage easement coming across the top and down Garden. There's a 42-inch storm drain in Garden. We talked at one time about the possibility of closing Garden altogether, and then we'd get half, the Haddon Hall would get half. They preferred to, I mean, this was 20 years ago, but they preferred not to join in that effort. It would have ended up having to remain public easements anyway. So anyway, that being said, no, Park Place could connect to it in the future. There wouldn't be anything that would preclude that.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Cindy? I have to open the public hearing. No?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I don't know if anyone is here, but I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any discussion on the waiver that has been presented, the sidewalk waiver?
And it seems weird to build a road without sidewalk, a public road. Just seeing that the only sidewalk, the 2 sidewalk pieces that are referenced are all completely on private property. You know, if those properties were to do something different, then that sidewalk could go with it, and then we'd be stuck with a road without sidewalk.
I mean, I think she said that there would be an easement that would allow public access, but it is, I agree, it is unusual to have a public access basically along the frontage of these commercial structures. Personally, I don't see any problem with eliminating sidewalk on the north side of the road. There's already a private sidewalk connection from Haddon Hall, and if that parcel were to develop, they would be required to put in sidewalk along that frontage. Personally, my biggest sort of question is whether there's enough justification to eliminate the sidewalk on the south side of the road. I guess a question for staff, is there a code requirement to connect sidewalk from the new parcel to public right-of-way? And if I guess if there was sidewalk on Garden, if that was a requirement, would they have to connect to it in some way?
Yes.
Okay, so they would have to somehow get that sidewalk that currently bends down in front of the two existing structures, they would have to connect it out to Garden.
That's correct, yes.
So the sidewalk that bends down in front of the two structures couldn't serve as the sidewalk connection, or could it?
The sidewalk connection to Floral?
Sorry, I misspoke, yes, correct. Would that sidewalk suffice, or would they have to create an additional connection out to Garden?
There'd be a connection to Garden from the new development.
All right. Any discussion on this? If not, Pat, I know that in Miranda's presentation, there were some conditions that were suggested to be added. Do we have to do variance and preliminary plan, or no? I'm just trying to understand the procedure. Brian knows I ask this question every meeting. I'm sorry.
Please, can you please repeat that question?
We have to take action on the variance. We know that. Do we also have to approve the plan?
The preliminary plan, that we have conditions established for that. I think it's a little bit of a gray area, so I always side on the fact that we're making improvements in a right-of-way, so I would say yes, let's act on a preliminary plan approval.
Okay, and those recommended conditions would be tied to that preliminary plan approval?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I mean, just based on what Travis was kind of hinting at, the potential future connection or extension of this road to Park Place, or some kind of connection back there, gives me a little heartburn of not providing sidewalk somewhere for future use.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate the effort to, run it through the existing portion of the site, but I'm just not seeing enough of a site constraint to prohibit it on the south side. I think I'm probably okay to eliminate it on the north side.
Yeah, I would agree. That's where I'm at as well.
Any thoughts?
It seems like we had several of these in the last 6 months or so, where we had discussions about sidewalks, and we always, it seems like we ended up with, it's okay to remove it on one side, but keep it on at least one side.
Okay.
It would seem to be consistent with that.
All right. Well, I'm going to make the motion that we conditionally, I guess we would be conditionally approving the variance with the condition added that they install sidewalk on the south side of Garden Avenue, because we are approving, or I guess my motion would be to approve with the condition that they add sidewalk on the south side. That would eliminate the sidewalk on the north side. And the justification is it's the existing vegetation on the north side, and it's unnecessary to serve the proposed development.
Is that sidewalk to the driveway or to the end of their property?
I don't know that I have a strong preference one way or the other. I would say to the driveway to serve this facility, and then if there was a sidewalk connection that did need to be made in the future to Park Place, then they could certainly extend it across. That's my thought, but I'm certainly open to, you know, further debate.
I'll second your original motion, sidewalk on, approving with the condition of sidewalk on one side of, on the south side of Garden Avenue to their driveway.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, variance passes. So we have to also take action on the preliminary plan. Based on the discussion, I would make the motion that we approve the preliminary plan with the sidewalk added that was requested in the previous variance, and with the added conditions recommended by staff in the staff report.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that passes as well. No other business? We are adjourned. Thank you.